Absinthe is an alcoholic spirit derived from wormwood, green anise, sweet fennel, and other medicinal and culinary herbs. Absinthe is derived from the Latin absinthium, meaning wormwood. In historical literature, the drink is commonly referred to as la fée verte, which means the green fairy. This was the French nickname given to the drink in the 19th century. It was also called the Green Muse or the Green Goddess by poets and artists of the time, but these names didn't stick like the Green Fairy. The medical use of wormwood dates back to ancient Egypt and Greece. The Greeks used wormwood extracts and wine-soaked wormwood leaves as remedies. The first evidence of absinthe as a distilled spirit containing green anise and fennel dates back to the 18th century. According to popular legend, it became an all-purpose patent remedy created by Dr. Pierre Ordinaire in 1792. Absinthe's popularity grew steadily through the 1840s, where it was given to French troops as a malaria preventative. Its popularity continued to grow as an alcoholic beverage in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in France, particularly among Parisian artists and writers. Notable absinthe drinkers included Ernest Hemingway, Pablo Picasso, Vincent van Gogh, Oscar Wilde, Aleister Crowley, and Edgar Allan Poe. The consumption of absinthe was opposed by social conservatives and prohibitionists, partly due to its association with Bohemian culture. Absinthe became associated with violent crimes and social disorder, though it is thought that this was merely a smear campaign orchestrated by the wine industry. In 1905, a Swiss farmer murdered his family and attempted to kill himself after drinking absinthe. What wasn't mentioned was that the farmer was an alcoholic who had already been heavily drinking wine and brandy on the night of the murders. However, the blame for the murders was placed solely on his consumption of 2 glasses of absinthe. These murders were the tipping point, and absinthe was banned in Switzerland soon after. Over the next 8 years, Belgium, Brazil, the Netherlands, Switzerland, the United States, and France would all ban the drink. The United Kingdom never had a ban on absinthe, and in the 1990s they led its resurgence. By the early 2000s, many of the countries with bans in place had lifted them. The principal botanicals of absinthe are grand wormwood, green anise, and Florence fennel, which are often called the Holy Trinity. To make distilled absinthe, botanicals are macerated in distilled base alcohol before being redistilled to exclude bitter principles. The first distillation of absinthe yields a colourless distillate. Traditional absinthes obtain their green colour from the chlorophyll of whole herbs, which is extracted from the plants during the secondary maceration. This step involves steeping plants such as wormwood, hyssop, melissa, and other herbs in the distillate. Adding to absinthe's negative reputation, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, unscrupulous absinthe makers omitted the natural colouring phase of production and instead used the faster, but more toxic method of adding copper salts to artificially induce a green tint. This practice is believed to be responsible for some of the alleged toxicity associated with the drink at the time. After the colouring process, the resulting product is diluted with water to the desired percentage of alcohol. The flavour of absinthe is said to improve substantially with storage, and so it is often kept in barrels before being put into bottles. The traditional French method of preparation involves placing a sugar cube on top of a specially designed slotted spoon. The spoon is placed on a glass filled with a measure of absinthe. Then iced water is poured or dripped over the sugar cube to mix the now sugary water into the absinthe. As the water dilutes the spirit, the components from the anise, fennel, and star anise, which are not very soluble in water, come out of the solution and cloud the drink. The resulting milky opalescence is called the louche. The Bohemian Method, also known as the Flaming Green Fairy, is a recent invention that involves fire. A sugar cube is placed on a slotted spoon over a glass. The absinthe is then poured over the sugar cube into the glass. The sugar is set alight and allowed to caramelize. After around 10 to 15 seconds, or once the flame goes out, the sugar is then dripped with ice water, or it can be dropped directly into the absinthe and stirred, with ice water poured in next. Absinthe has been frequently and improperly described as being hallucinogenic, though no peer-reviewed scientific study has demonstrated absinthe to possess any hallucinogenic properties. In the 19th century, the French psychiatrist Valentin Magnin claims that those who drank absinthe were worse off than those drinking ordinary alcohol, having experienced rapid onset hallucinations. The chemical compound thujone, which is found in wormwood and is present in the spirit in trace amounts, was blamed for its alleged harmful effects. Today, it is widely accepted that any reports of hallucinogenic effects could be attributable to the poisonous additives in cheap variations made during the 19th century, such as oil of wormwood, impure alcohol, and poisonous colorings like copper salts.